Yo.
Hey now.
Yo.
Good morning.
GM. Oh, we're not saying GM anymore? We don't do GM?
I'm very torn.
Boomerish? Has it reached boomer status?
Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it. It's kind of boomer NFT. I know we were doing the saluting emoji for a while during the depths of the bear. It's funny because
that was the like go down with the ship thing, right?
It was. And like in June, it really felt like that, like it was a feeling of, going to zero. Like, yeah, your logic brain told you it couldn't, but it was the feeling, right? That feeling of, oh my God, we're going to zero. This last pullback where we almost got down to those lows. I mean, ETH got to 1,200. The S&P actually made new lows. That's an interesting thing for you crypto watchers out there, right? S&P 500, NASDAQ made new lows the last couple of weeks. Crypto didn't even get close, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it just front ran those lows, but I still think the how bad crypto is down, it's kind of to be expected, but
well, it was
maybe just got there sooner.
It's more to me about this idea of correlations and decouplings, right? Knowledge and information spreads around the market quicker than it ever has. I mean, we all have access to Twitter. People latch on to things very quickly. And when a correlation becomes consensus, as we've seen with bonds and stocks, as we know, bond yields going up and stocks going down has been the main correlation this year. We know the reasons of inflation and all that, but it's what's caused the risk-off environment, which is spilled into crypto and everything else. The other popular correlation you've heard was the NASDAQ and ETH, or the crypto market in general, but the correlation you now saw between stocks and crypto, both of those correlations have started to break down over the last couple of weeks. Now, you're not going to see extreme departures, but there's something I wrote about last week was that I think we can all feel the volatility has been sucked out of the crypto market. It's been a very tight range. And while traditional markets continue to panic on interest rate hikes and all sorts of things, crypto's kind of just been chilling. Like it didn't panic down too much. It hasn't risen in any of the big pops that we've seen in tradition. There has been an actual decoupling, and you're actually seeing that in bonds now too, as bonds have done the opposite of what stocks have done now for the last, I would say, 5 sessions. There's been a few where they link, but you're going to see these correlations you got just as you got used to these things, and you decided this is the way the world is, the market's going to rug you, and you're going to see these things start to change.
I'm excited. You always get me really bullish on this stuff. I mean, even in the depths of the bear market, we start talking and you're just like this and this and this. And like, I understood some of those words and I feel really good about it.
Well, I think here's the big debate, the big overarching debate. Is this the end of the secular bull market we've been in for 13 years? Or is this a bear market within that structure? Nobody knows yet. The reason I have remained bullish, even though there are times I've been short this year, there's times I've doom posted and we all get caught. My underlying tone has remained bullish because I'm looking at the econ data. I'm looking at high frequency economic data, which this whole time has said inflation is transient. And if inflation is transient, then I don't think this is going to be like the 1970s or like the early noughts after the dot-com crash when we kind of went sideways for 13 years. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I could be wrong. And we're all, we react to what happened. We all have our plans. But since this is the central debate, it's the main reason why through all of this, my underlying thing has been, don't worry, buy and look forward to the next 6 years, because I don't think this secular bull is over. And I think we have not even remotely seen the highs. We can get into some crazy price targets if we want, but that's just my general feeling.
That's it. That's it. GM guys, thank you for tuning in. I see Arnold and Slim out there saying GM, appreciate it. Yeah, we're back. We're back. This is episode 153, and they've been moving along pretty slowly lately. So just want to give a shout out to the people that are still sticking with us and whatnot. I mean, it's been an interesting time in my life. I've had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. And it was really hard to remain consistently doing the show. And so, I apologized for the lack of communication around it kind of just disappearing again. But I think one of the things that we tried to do last time was to tone it down a little bit, and we were trying to do Tuesdays and Fridays. And I don't know if you agree with this or not, but it almost felt like it was too little. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't
Yeah.
as consistent enough. So I think we're really excited to get back into it and fire this up. So I think going forward, we're going to be trying out a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, 9:30 Eastern as usual. And I think that's going to be good, right? Monday's a great day to kind of recap the weekend. Wednesday's, midweek. I know that sounds obvious, and then we'll have a good Friday show that will leave you for the weekend. And I think personally, I think that's just like a good cadence too. You know what I mean?
I think there's nothing you and I want more than a roaring bull market, 5 days a week of the AM
Yeah.
and constant requests for a Saturday and Sunday podcast because there's just way too much to talk about. But you know what? We keep with the demand, and we kind of have to keep pace with the market.
Yeah.
We will. R2 and I had a discussion over the weekend, and we think 3 days. Look, you know that I'm a bloviator. I could sit here and just talk about data point all day. But I think that 3 days a week right now, given where everything is perfect, and we look really forward to delivering that.
Yeah, and that's right. There was never anything on either of our side of like not wanting to do the show, right? But we were 5 days a week for 6 months, 7 months. And it was really easy because things were ripping. There were tons of cooks. There were tons of things to talk about. There was tons of activity. There is still a lot of stuff going on, but it's like how noteworthy it is not always there. So I feel like, yeah, it kind of in the same vein that the market is returning a little bit. There seems to be some life and some more interesting things to talk about. And as Free Market said, I think that 3 days a week should cover that pretty comfortably. Without having to cram too much into one episode to get to, and still giving us enough time to kind of just riff on things and let the conversation go where it naturally does go. So yeah, 9:30 Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're gonna do that, and I promise if anything comes up, we're gonna give you more advance notice about maybe having to miss a show. We can't promise that it'll be every single time, but I think that's a good schedule. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, man.
Let's cut the music and actually get into the bulk of the content. We did touch on inflation already in the markets, but let's just pull this up and we'll kind of rehash it a little bit there. Yesterday, inflation print came in. It came in hot based on expectations, correct? Like it was a percent higher than they thought it would be.
We were expecting. Yep, we were expecting 8.1%, and it came in at 8.2%. And that may not sound like a huge beat. Yep, but that may not sound like a huge beat. But if you remember, the last inflation report also came in 0.1% hotter, and it sent markets careening lower in the worst day that they've had in years. So 0.1% when you're talking about these things is a lot. And as this hot number came across the tape at 8:30 a.m. yesterday, markets which had been up 1% into this number, baffling a lot of players, saying this number, which is obviously bearish, and we're up 1% into it. Well, we get our obviously bearish number, and boy, did we tank. Markets took out the yearly lows before we even opened during RTH, regular trading hours, and it was looking very bleak. Though I think market watchers had really been seeing some things in the internals that had already started people wondering how much lower this market could go. Mind you, we have been meandering near the market lows for weeks now, with every once in a while a superficial push lower. Then you'd get a couple days of rally randomly one week or the other. But we have been kind of testing these 3,600 lows for a long time. Well, we get this expectedly bearish number and break under them. Well, you expect everything to fall apart. Lo and behold, 30 minutes into RTH, we start to reverse and markets just absolutely rip.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, you could see this spike right here. That was basically open day, and it was just like a straight line up from there.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts because, again, if we had gotten a soft seat, let's look at these scenarios right now, because we know that the Fed has been very adamant that they're going to continue tightening. They do not care about one data point, and they are not even going to think about changing course until they get 3 consecutive soft data points in a row. Okay, so best case scenario, let's say inflation came in 1% cold yesterday. Well, what would it have done? Nothing. It wouldn't have changed the Fed's view. We would have gotten a one-day pop, and it would probably already be retracing because nothing new had changed. But we got a hot number, and then the market reversed. Now, as a market watcher, that gives you a lot more information than had we come in soft, because now you know that we've run out of sellers. Okay, why did the market turn around yesterday? Because there was nobody left to sell. Everybody had anticipated this happening. Everybody was expecting it to happen. And because it did not provide a lot of new information, there was nobody left to sell. So the hot number gave us a lot more info into the mechanics of the market than a soft one did. And the mechanics are much more important here, because why does a market go down? It's when sellers are more aggressive than buyers. Why does it go up? For the opposite reason. Yesterday, we got very, very clear signal from the market that we have run out of sellers short term. That is why we've rallied. We continue to open higher here this morning. I do expect some volatility. And if you made me guess, I could even see the market closing a little down today. But I do think we'll be up next week. Something happened yesterday that has only happened 5 times in modern history. And that is a market that opened down more than 2% and ended up more than 2%. That's a very rare occurrence. The other thing,
that's a Tuesday on a crypto market.
Yeah, R2 and I were joking about that. I say that to you guys, and it probably doesn't even phase you. I mean,
why are we talking about these rookie numbers? You know, 2%, whatever.
We see coins with wilder swings by the hour. By the hour, of course, it's a small, low liquidity market. You know, again, you know, it's a $1 trillion market right now. That's half of Amazon. I mean, that's not even one company in the fucking S&P 500, one of the larger companies, right? So this is a small.
It's crazy
market.
when you put it like that, honestly. Like, yeah. You can do that math obviously very simply, but like it is just mind-boggling when you actually.
All of crypto is half of Amazon right now. That is how small our industry is. That's, if you believe in this, that is why some of those crazy numbers like $360,000 Bitcoin or $100,000 ETH exist. Because were they to actually be mass adopted, they would get there. They could go even higher. The debate is whether they'll be adopted. It's not whether the prices can get there. We have to see whether mass adoption could occur. The point is, something rare happened yesterday. It indicates a turn in markets, a change of tone. And the other thing we talked about in the pre-show was this decoupling of the common correlations this year. If these things continue and we start to see the dollar pull back and bonds pull back, I actually think it's going to give us anywhere from 4 to 6 months of pretty clear runway for general markets to float upwards towards 42, 4,400 on the S&P, and certain crypto narratives to do very well also. You guys may be surprised to hear that I actually think Bitcoin and other select alts are going to massively outperform ETH for the next 6 months. There are quite a few reasons for that, the largest of which being sell the news. The biggest event in crypto happened, the ETH merge. Everybody was bullish into it. All money that flowed into crypto went towards that concept. Well, it happened. It's over. Now there's nothing to do. Okay. It's not that I'm bearish, and I don't actually think ETH is ever going to get to 3 digits again. I'll stick my neck out and say that here on the show, but I do think ETH is kind of going to be dead money for a little bit. So I am more bullish on things like Bitcoin, which is digital gold, and things like alts, which have their own mini narratives, whether it's Matic, which every day seems to make a new deal with somebody like Disney or Facebook. I mean, you want to talk about the most bullish thing going on in Ethereum, and that's Polygon. And those are crazy words to come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we're living in a parallel universe or something.
For real, right? But I mean, look at Matic up 16% today. ENS up 20% today. XRP up 10%. I think there are going to be many stories with their own mini narratives that do better than ETH. Now, I think ETH is going to get to all-time highs at the end of next year or early in 2024. I'm not bearish on ETH. I just think on a relative strength basis, there are other places to play crypto in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play that roulette, then yeah, I mean, typically Bitcoin seems to always run first. Altcoins always seem to outperform the two of them. That mean Bitcoin and Ethereum during the bear market, or sorry, during a bull run. But I mean, I do think that I do think we're always going to see Bitcoin 1, ETH 2. I know you mentioned in the pre-show, like you thought there's some ability for Ripple to flip Ethereum, which it has done in the past, actually. I'm having a hard time seeing that, but there's just something about XRP that really I just do not like. But that's okay. That doesn't mean that you can't.
Fun fact I'll break on this show.
Okay.
The first cryptocurrency I ever bought
was XRP. Yeah. Actually, surprisingly, it was one of the first other than ETH that I bought, and I bought it at, I think it was 12 cents, 10 cents or something like that.
Yeah, I remember.
And it ran up, and I sold it all. This is in 2017 or 2018. I sold it all at 30 cents. And this was my first kind of real lesson in how ridiculous crypto was. It went straight to $3. And I was sitting there like, how did I miss? I 3x'd my money, and I missed out on another 10x on top of that. I was just like, I was mind blown. So first, you don't have to sell everything, right? You can scale out of a position. Smart.
Yeah.
But second, that was like my first real taste of like, holy shit, this stuff is wild. Because ETH, I mean, it would go up 30%, it would go up 50%, it would double over the course of a couple months. Mm-hmm. Ripple, like 30x'd in the span of like 3 days. It was nuts.
Well, you know, Ripple has been embroiled in a lawsuit for years now. Why has it ripped relative to crypto? Well, there are rumors that that lawsuit is going in their favor, and the ramifications of them winning that will ripple across all of crypto.
I see what you did there.
And the reason is it comes down to securities law and what kind of precedent it would set if it was decided that Ripple was not a security in the view of this particular case. Now, that doesn't close the door on the government continuing to try to make these things securities. But were it to go in Ripple's favor, it would be one of the more bullish narratives in crypto, not just for Ripple. And I'm sure Ripple would have a very nice move off that level. But that, again, has ramifications for every major protocol in the game.
I just wonder about that, though, because as far as I know, XRP doesn't do anything. It's like Bitcoin. It's transactable, but it doesn't do anything. And I think the distinction between Ethereum and Ripple are these, smart contract tokens provide different vectors of attack for the SEC as well.
Yes, and certainly ETH is going to, and Solana and smart contract platforms will be the most immune to this type of judgment. And and again, it's one reason I'm saying I actually think the smart contract concepts are going to be sideways crab dead money for the next 6 months to 1 year while they just digest the cycle they went through. And I'm very bullish on them long term. But I just listed I think Matic, I think XRP, and I think ENS, which you're seeing a monster move today, up 20%, back above $20. There's a reason, and that's because big money sees this is about to become the preferred domain, not of Web3, of the internet. And that is so massively undervalued relative to that potential that
So
I think these are
ENSflipping.com is what you're saying?
I think after the next secular bear market, so we're talking the 2040s, that's possible. I do. It's stupid to talk about now because there's so much that could happen between it. But if you forced me to make a timeline for that type of adoption, I'd say after the next secular bear, which I think will be in the 2030s. But that doesn't mean we're not going to see a massive bull in these concepts now into 2029 over the next 7 years. That's kind of how I'm looking at crypto. So I do think markets in general are very close to making a big turn in tone and sentiment. I think because of how economic data filters through to the final headline announcements, you're actually going to have 5 to 6 months of lag now where we start to get good data. See, what's happening now is we have repeatedly gotten bad inflation data on the headlines, but the economy has remained remarkably resilient. And people go, how do you rectify those two things? It's because the effects of headline numbers are not felt for 6 months after that headline comes out. So all this bad news we've been getting over the last 4 and 5 months, we're not going to feel that till next spring and summer. So now we're going to start getting good economic data, which is going to give the market cover to rally, but you won't feel that good economic data until the end of next year. So what happens next spring or summer? The bad data from this year rears its ugly head again as the pass-through effects are finally felt. And that's how this is how it tricks people. Because by next spring, the bulls will be like, look at all this great data we've gotten. The bad times are over. Hallelujah. And yes, they're right. The indication is that the bad times are over. The thing is, you don't feel that for 6 months. So all of a sudden, market sells off again. There'll be a double dip next year. It'll be violent. People will be confused. But I do think we're about to have almost half a year of clear runway here, and it's why I'm getting bullish again.
Should be good. Well, we were just talking about the SEC, so that seems like a good time to just bring this up to happened. I think it was like late last week or early this week. The SEC has started to investigate the Bored Ape creator Yuga Labs over whether or not only the NFTs are a security, but also ApeCoin, if it is a security or not. I don't know how much teeth this attack has, but I do think that it's one of those things that, one, it kind of makes me bullish about NFTs again. And I'm not saying that it's going to cause a rip, but NFTs are obviously still relevant enough for the SEC to care about, right? Like, or now they're trying to just crush it while it's down. But, I do feel like this is one of those plays of like, hey, we're still watching, we're still around, we're still going to kick some tires. Like, don't think that we've gone away just because the price of your JPEGs has collapsed. And it's going to be interesting to watch this all unfold. Now, one of the fascinating things that actually I'm going to ask you this question before I pull it up, and I know the answer to it now because I was talking about this yesterday. How much in minting fees do you think Yuga Labs has pulled in for their Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, and the other side deeds? And remember, a Kennel Club was a free airdrop. How much money, like USD value, do you think they have earned off just the mints, not the secondary volume?
Well, I'll answer your first question first. You said how much teeth this has. I counted 3. If you look at the picture right there, there's 3 teeth right there. 1, 2, 3. The second question, I think Yuga has brought in 345 million USD.
Good guess. It's just over 400 million.
Nice.
In mint, nice. And then another, it's like almost 150 million in secondary, and then that's not.
That'll get you noticed.
What's that?
That's going to get you noticed by some people.
Absolutely will get you noticed. Yeah. That's not including the money that they've raised in the venture rounds that they've gone through as well. I mean, the one thing that I will say is that that kind of money will also get you access to some pretty damn good lawyers, and the people that have invested in your company likely have access to even better lawyers. And it's sometimes this market can be crazy, and people will shoot first and ask questions later. But if you look at the list of investors that they've had, I have a hard time believing that most of this diligence hasn't already been done, and they can say to a relatively confident degree that the SEC can't rule on this against them. That being said, I don't think you can ever say that 100%, right? But I don't think that Yuga would be where they are, not in terms of floor price, but in terms of like the connections that they've made and the brand power that they have without having done a lot of the legal legwork to make sure that they're playing within the lines. This isn't even, you know, this isn't some small like, we'll just wing it kind of brand. Like they've made it, right? They WGMI, they're not gonna make it. They did make it. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, ApeCoin took a bit of a tumble after that, 10%, but the markets were not doing good on that day either. And I just I don't think that there's any stop in this. I do think that the worst case scenario is that there's some kind of slap on the wrist and then they figure out how to operate within the guidelines properly. But I think the maximum sentence for selling an unregistered security what is that called? Unaccredited investors would be like 5 years in the federal prison. I don't see that happening at all.
Yeah, this has been wildly misreported. And one of the first things that I tweeted out was about this report. And the main reason is this is not a charge. This is not an accusation of criminal wrongdoing. This is essentially a research field trip for the SEC.
Yes.
They do this routinely with companies in fintech, okay, especially crypto, that they would like to understand more about, okay? Understand this very, very basic point. They will not regulate NFTs before they regulate ETH, okay? You're not going to get some sort of charge or investigation.
Do you think so, though? Because they regulated ICOs before they regulated ETH.
Yeah, I still do not think that you're going to get any type of NFT law on the books before they regulate ETH because it's too slippery. There are enough lawyers, as you said, well-paid lawyers who have built very, very good cases to explain why these things, especially utility tokens, are not securities. And I think that that will eventually. Now, I do think the government's going to fight as much as they can to get these to be securities, but I just think that this, at best, this is going to enter as a paragraph into the SEC's report to Congress when they would like to regulate ETH. This is part of the ETH regulation final report, but this in and of itself is going to be nothing. I don't think anything is going to come of this, and I think that ApeCoin singing 10% was an opportunity off of this report.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, I find it fascinating that the accredited investor law is that you have to earn more than $200,000 a year for at least 2 years consecutively prior, or have a verifiable net worth of over $1 million in assets to become accredited investor. And it's hilarious to me that how many people have participated in Bored Apes are probably now qualified to be an accredited investor because of their participation in the Bored Ape ecosystem. And it's one of those things that, like, you can walk into a casino and you can drop your entire life savings and they'll happily take it. But getting rich off of buying a monkey JPEG would be a big no. So it's hilarious, but I hope that some of those laws start to at least become under review, right? And I think that there will be a lot of political pressure. I think Robinhood opening up the markets to a lot more casual investors and whatnot has kind of caused a lot more people to go down the rabbit hole of being an investor. Um, and you see all of these wealthy people getting even wealthier off being able to, invest capital in early stages of companies where normal people can't. So I do think that there's going to be some kind of political demand for review on that. And I do think that maybe in, 5 to 10 years, it will start to become a much more hotly contested topic during election cycles. I don't know if you agree with that or if that timeline's off, but I do think that like the everyman, now that they're have access to all of this information and investment tools, are going to start craving that as well.
Right. I think that it's it's like trying to nail Jello to the wall. The United States can try to regulate an unregulatable thing, and they will cause short-term inability to do things, and they will make laws for centralized organizations, and they may force people to leave their state or their country, but it's an unregulatable thing. So in the end, none of it really matters. The unregulated casino will always exist as long as there is electricity. And that is my final verdict on it. And there is massive demand for the unregulated casino. And I know that's the cynical take. It is also unregulated money that people who are fleeing nuclear threat, war, oppression, genocide, whatever it may be, can go somewhere with their money. I mean, we still take that for granted. You live in the United States and you have Venmo, sure. Is crypto enough of a use case that you're going to stop using Venmo in your bank account? Probably fucking not. But if there are...
But try and bring $20,000 in cash on an airplane.
Right.
Right. you ain't doing it.
That is not going away. There is always going to be human demand for freedom. That's what Ethereum is. It's fucking freedom. So, fuck any attempt at regulating it, and good luck to all who try. I'm
just picturing like free market carrying like a big, maybe not an American flag, because we were just talking about how they're part of the problem, but just like,
well, I agree. The American system as is certainly part of the problem. I believe this country was founded on the same ideas as Ethereum. And whether the founding fathers were able to enact that, what was in their heart, I don't really give a shit. The way I interpret what they wrote is freedom. It's freedom of thought. It's freedom of markets. It's freedom of expression. And I do think ETH encapsulates that. It's untouchable. That's the problem. Everything else is touchable. Governments are touchable by populism, right? You get enough votes. ETH is untouchable. It is what it is. I mean, we can get into the argument about whether it's truly decentralized until Vitalik, and the ETH Foundation pushes it off in the boat into the sea or whatever. But
well, Coinbase too, right?
It's as close as we've got.
Moving on to some NFTs. Well, Bored Apes are NFTs, but Sir Anthony Hopkins, Oscar winner Anthony Hopkins, who we talked about on the show months ago as starting to be NFT curious and started to tweet out to his friends about which ones to look at and which ones to buy, has I guess continued to go down the rabbit hole, and in collaboration with OpenSea just launched his first NFT collection. It's a 1K collection called The Eternal, Anthony Hopkins, The Eternal by Orange Comet. I love it. This is some weird shit. Like, I don't know if they make good PFPs. We often, in the past have talked about the realism element not translating well into the PFP bubble. But in terms of, who Anthony Hopkins is and the potential importance of somebody like this participating in the NFT market, adding legitimacy, adding credibility to it, I really do actually enjoy this. It sold out in a couple of minutes on OpenSea yesterday for 0.25 ETH. It is sitting at I'll do the old refresh thing and still see if I still have the magic touch. Yes, it went down 0.8 right now. So not a bad little cook if you were able to get your hands on one or a few of these and started trading them. But if you look at the preview, they're kind of cool. It's a picture of Anthony Hopkins done up in all kinds of different ways, and 1,000 of them. Maybe not a bad thing to just buy and hold and let sit on. But Anthony Hopkins is one of those people that older generations just know and have the utmost respect for. And this might not be making national headlines or anything, but I do think that it is just another stamp of approval, even in the artistic realm, right? Because I do think these particularly fall under just art.
Sorry, I just cut. Could you repeat the last line? It just cut out for me. And so say what you said one more time, toward.
No, I just said it's just another stamp of approval from somebody who's a pretty stable celebrity, right? Like, he's very well respected. He's renowned in the acting community as being one of the best ever. He's always been a big art collector, and he's doing this almost art for art's sake NFT collection on the ETH chain. Like, it feels like a good, like, legitimacy story to me.
Yeah, and he certainly made a splash when he first announced that he was getting into NFTs, and he kind of made that corny video that everybody made fun of, as it was. I think the bear had started, but we were I don't know, still at 3K or so. I forget exactly where we were along the cycle. People were making fun of it, but I think that great artists see a new medium and are either inspired by it or not. And the art that they make reflects that. Like, I think we saw a lot of celebrities get in where you looked at the art and it did not reflect that, and you wondered about it. And there's something, it's very hard to say what it is. Maybe the kids call it a vibe, but there are times when you can just sense in the art seriousness, right? I think seriousness is a big thing in art, like whether something was done for the right reasons. And I think that the market is deciding that Anthony Hopkins did it for the right reasons, with a nice 300% gain had you gotten one of these at mint.
Yeah, not too shabby at all. I said art for art's sake. I suppose there's some kind of utility built into there, not like really as like a utility token, but chance to rack up some real world perks, including a one-on-one brunch with Hopkins, autographed physical prints of the artwork, and audio clips of Hopkins discussing the meanings behind the various archetypes. This is the kind of utility from an artist standpoint that I really like. Like, they're not promising some long, grandiose roadmap, but they're just saying, like, hey, if you own one of these, like, we'll raffle off a lunch. We'll send you some physical copies with an autograph on it or whatnot. I think that's like cool and just good enough too. That utility conversation that happened several months ago was almost exhausting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It was like you had these people that like drifters scaling up the sides of buildings and bridges to take these incredible photographs, and they're like, but what's the utility? And he's like, I just risked my life to get this shot. The utility is a nice picture. Like, fuck off,
Yep.
And that is okay.
I
was
just gonna say, I think that one of the biggest avenues for NFTs in their current iteration is access. And people who have built up this type of value over their careers, instant access to what they do is already very valuable. So it's the exact type of person who can leverage the current technology in NFTs. We talk about that all the time. NFTs are going to be innovated in so many ways over the next few years. They won't look like they do now. Well, the way they are now, this is kind of the perfect use case for them.
Love it. Well, let's talk about Valhalla, because I think that there's maybe some parallels we can draw there. First thing I'm going to bring up is, obviously, this is an incredibly hyped project that everybody's been talking about. I think that we all acknowledge the fact that it's not only easily going to sell out, but is likely going to be a cook, especially as they've been winding down their acceptance of the applications. It seems like it's been harder and harder to get into there. based on, you know, some of the people I've talked to. I was fortunate enough to get in there, and I believe you are too. But they've now just launched the fact that they're going to be selling 500 NFTs in pre-sale format, and you can put a bid in. You have to commit to buying a minimum of 5 NFTs or a maximum of 25 NFTs in WETH. They're going to be 0.25 each. And the NFTs that you purchase will be vested over a 3-month period, with 1/3 of them being unlocked each month. So you can't just pre-sale, buy, and then dump on Mint or dump on release, right? It's caused a lot of interesting discussion on Twitter. They took to it. Yeah, and sup to Kenza. I'm glad to see you back there. It is interesting, but I also agree, absurd. And I'm gonna try not to be too hypercritical of this, but I always do wonder, like, why we have to mess with the traditional mint thing that works. I mean, they said on Twitter it's to gauge demand and whatnot, and I don't think that that's genuine. Like, this thing was selling out regardless. They could have priced it at 0.1, 0.25, 0.5 ETH. They probably could have gone up to 1 ETH. There might have been a little bit of backlash about that. I'm sure there would have been. But I guess if they needed their concerns alleviated, then they have that. So we've had 7,000 bids put in. I don't know how I feel about this. And I also wonder, you know, is this pre-sale price going to be the same or less than what the actual mint price is going to be? And you also have to keep in mind, right? They're not using this mint to raise funds in the traditional NFT project sense. They've already gone through venture funding. They are a funded company. And I don't know. What's your takeaway from this this idea?
How many spots did you say they're doing here? 500?
500, and I'm assuming that this is going to be like an 8 to 10K PFP project. I
Right.
believe that's what they've said.
This reeks of market research to me, and I wouldn't be surprised to see another 500 go for 0.5 in another week or two, and then another 500 for 1 in a week. I think they'll keep doing that to judge demand and see what's going on here. Otherwise, I don't know why they're doing this.
You think they'll do this again?
Yeah. Another 5.
Interesting. I hadn't even considered that. I don't think so, but I see where you're going with it for sure.
Yeah, it's it's a good way to see where market demand is. Otherwise, I don't really know why they're doing, because I do not understand this. All right, there are 3 extremely hype projects coming up. That would be Ether by V. That would be Valhalla, which we're looking at now, and that would be Meme Land. Now, V is very much like Azuki, and it has the artist, a well-known artist, the cachet and the quality of art and hype to pull it off. Okay, so that's how you can judge that project against something that's happened before. Meme Land is like Bored Ape Yacht Club, but for Gen Z TikTok creators. It's going to have its own coin. All right. I understand how to value that. Valhalla, I've had no idea what it is. I don't know. Like, I assume we're minting a PFP. I know it ties into a video game streaming platform. I have no idea how I would value that. I don't know. Now, you said that there's almost definitely going to be a token. I didn't know that before the show.
I believe so, yeah. I'm trying to remember, because I tuned in to one of their town halls, and like, the town hall is good in the sense that they seem to be a well-organized team. A lot of the speakers up there were very professional, spoke very well, seemed to have good connections, but they did that, you know, pre-mint project. We can't talk about this, but I can tell you that they did a lot of that teasing, which I understand. Actually, you can't just drop all of your marketing tools all at once, right? Like, you have to have a build up. Some things aren't confirmed. Sometimes you can't out somebody that's expressed interest but isn't ready to pull the trigger on it yet. Like, those are all valid things to be able to say, like, you know, this is a thing, but I can't expand on it more. But I'm trying to remember if they actually touched on the fact that there would be a token or not. But the overarching idea of this is not only a gaming kind of lifestyle brand, of which I think gaming is such a big industry and surprisingly lacks a lot of. I couldn't off the top of my head think of one kind of unifying brand that everybody kind of gets behind in terms of like fashion or style. Maybe that just speaks to gamers' ability to dress. Maybe, I don't know. But like, if I think of gaming brands, I'm thinking of hardware like Razer mouses or keyboards and stuff like that. Steel Series or there's a whole bunch of them. Like, but you don't really see that unifying. Like, hype beasts have their Supreme, right? Like, there's just stuff like that. Like, watch collectors, there's like the Rolex of it and all of that stuff. But yeah, so this is there's that component of it, but then there's also the streaming service, and they're really trying to go after the Twitches and the YouTubes of the world. I've gone through that ICO cycle of, we're gonna tokenize everything, we're gonna Web3ize everything, even though that term didn't exist there. And once you kind of take a step back and get removed from the hype, you start to think that like there's not always a need to tokenize or decentralize every single thing, and in fact, it's probably stupid to do it for a bunch of stuff. This is one that I actually think has a good, verifiable, and demanded use case, right? Twitch has not been very favorable towards their content creators. And as we march towards this content creator economy, sorry, and that is a real thing, there is going to be a demand for a more favorable cut and a better treatment process for creators, of which Twitch is not fulfilling. Right now, they take about half of all of the dollars spent on the Twitch platform towards streamers. So, those streamers that have 100,000 subscribers that, cumulatively paying $500,000 a month to subscribe to a streamer, Twitch, and by extension, Amazon, is taking half of that. And they're providing the platform, sure. And, there was a time when they say, well, we have the platform and you wouldn't be making this money if we didn't exist. We're going to start getting away from that. I do think that there is going to be a token involved in this too, where that is the transactable currency on there. But one of the things that really excites me is if they can attract gamers and attract big name streamers. I do think that this is going to be a platform that's not jam NFTs, jam crypto down people's throats. It's going to be a streaming first platform. And we've talked about this so many times on this show and on Terrestrial Thursday. The big things that allow for mass adoption in this industry are going to be that, hey, you can use this. You don't have to have any crypto or NFTs. This is the service we're providing, but it's accessible for you if you're already a user, and there's going to be a relatively frictionless way for you to start participating in it if you so choose. And I think that combined with some of these mobile games, we're seeing Digidaigaku just bought a Super Bowl ad for 2023, right? Like, those things are going to onboard people that don't want to do crypto, don't want to do NFTs. They're going to start playing that game. And then, a certain percent of them, they're going to start going down that rabbit hole of like, oh, I can own these assets. Oh, I can sell that sword for, $5, as our Terrestrial Thursday guest yesterday kind of mentioned, right? And I think that the streaming platform that they're putting out there is going to do that too. Oh, wow, I can claim an NFT that Ninja just dropped for free that said I was on his 2000th stream. Doesn't cost me anything. Well, why wouldn't I? And it'll start that perpetuation of more and more people going down it. We even just saw earlier this week, Ariana Chechik. Did you see this at TwitchCon? She's a big streamer.
She broke a leg or something. What was it?
Yeah. Well, she jumped into a foam pit at TwitchCon that basically had like a 6-inch layer of foam that was not secured to the floor whatsoever, and broke her back in 2 places. Just underwent spinal fusion surgery. I mean, like, her life has changed forever. And sure, that doesn't have anything to do with like Twitch, the platform, but it does, again, just speak to Twitch's inability to treat their creators and whatnot with any kind of respect or minimum safety requirements there, right? Like, that, this is actually a big deal. And I hope she gets a huge settlement, because again, her life will never be the same. But all of these little things that are happening allow for someone like Valhalla to start chipping away at that market share, right? And that's why I think that there could be a real bull case here.
And I am in 100% agreement with that bull case, and I would love to buy equity in a company like that. Now, that
Yeah,
aside,
your concern is, why are the NFTs valuable?
right, what is this NFT about? I am not a gamer. I'm not a Twitch streamer, nor have I ever watched a Twitch stream. And I'm very bullish on that whole concept. I am not anti it, nor I'm very bullish on the whole concept. But what I am is an NFT trader, and I am looking at all these hype projects coming up, and I kind of know how I could price them in my head and come up with targets and what I should pay and all that. I have no idea what Valhalla, and again, once they tell us very specifically what it is,
Yeah.
maybe this will turn into my most bullish look going forward. I'm just a little confused here. So I think the only thing I'm trying to impress is, as an average NFT consumer, I'm not sure what's going on, and I would love a more clear message. I'm very confident that that will come in the coming weeks when they're getting towards their mint. I just, as I stand, am confused.
I see, if this token exists, I see staking the NFTs in the sense that if this token is used to support the creators on there, tipping them and whatnot, you look at Twitch taking a 50-50 cut of all of those. Maybe Valhalla, the platform, says we're only going to take 5%. And half of that 5% goes to Valhalla, the company, and the other half of that percent gets redistributed to the NFT holders that are staked. Or this Valhalla token is the transactable currency on the platform, and maybe the NFT holders via staking are the ones that are releasing it, and they get to sell it in some kind of like pseudo swap type thing directly on the platform. Again, like, I don't think that a user that is not involved in crypto still couldn't have an account on there with their credit card, buy a bunch of the tokens or tippable mechanism, and have that token, custody by Valhalla and released when they tip it to someone. Like, I don't think that somebody has to go down the rabbit hole of owning a wallet and all of that stuff. And they could operate on those Web 2.5 principles. And now there's a revenue generating model there as well. So, I mean, I can't say for sure what they're going to do, but I can definitely see the avenues of which this could be very successful, not only for Valhalla, the company, Valhalla, the streaming platform, but also the Valhalla NFT platform, or an NFT, I guess, profile pictures, right?
I guess my fear here is that they're going to mint at 1 ETH. They're going to ramp to 3. And then afterwards, we're going to get such a great VC company presentation that everyone's going to feel like they're going to 20 ETH in a year. And now I'm stuck with this thing. I got to hold a year to see actual potential, because it sounds like a very big, it sounds like I'm becoming a seed investor in an early company, which is great, but it just means that I look at it differently. So I would love to know where people think the short-term value is and where people think the long-term value is. I know it's a regular debate in the AlphaMint Degen dojo. Not a debate, people are just thinking out loud, trying to figure out what's going on here and what some people think it has the most potential of upcoming mints. I put it towards the bottom just because of my confusion. I'd love to put it up towards the top. I already have whitelists. Let's go. 50 ETH floor. I'm with it.
You know what? I mean, if these things that they put out on their Twitter are the profile pictures, which I'm assuming they are, and sometimes that backfires, but I think they play. I think they look pretty good. We know this kind of style of artwork can be. Yeah, we know. We've seen it tons and tons of times. Like, even if you just want to play that game of like cool PFP picture, like, I don't see why not. To go back to one of your earlier points, I don't think that this mints at 1 ETH. I think that the mint price is going to be 0.25, like this pre-sale is. I think they're only going to do one of them. And my gut is telling me that is the case, because I think that they're pretty close to being fully subscribed via the application mechanism anyways. And I don't think that they can. I think they'll burn a lot of goodwill by going any higher than 0.5. But I just think that, the pre-sale opportunity here is not a reduction in price. It's the ability to kind of bulk buy, even if you're not on the application list. And you're going to kind of pay for it in the sense of they're going to be vested, right? That's the risk you're taking. So I'm not seeing it. I actually kind of had that thought, and I wouldn't normally say this. I kind of like paid mints, honestly. I have no problem paying 0.25 for this if that's the mint price that it's going to be. But with the Gabriel Layden Digidaigaku kind of fiasco of this free to own meta, and we know the aversion of gamers towards NFTs and seeing it as scams and money grabs and all of this stuff. And I know that gamers aren't necessarily participating in this mint, but I actually thought it could have gone a long way, knowing that they're already funded by venture capitalists, to actually have a free mint. I thought that would have been very interesting. And then going forward, if these things become 3 ETH, 5 ETH, 20 ETH, as you said, you have that in the back of your mind, you can look back on the genesis of it and say, well, it didn't actually cost anything. It's only valuable because people have decided it's valuable. I thought that would have been interesting. I wouldn't have advocated it. That's not a hill that I would have died on, but it was an interesting thought that I had.
Well, especially given their market, right?
That's what I mean, right? Like,
gamers,
nobody can accuse them of being a cash grab NFT if they didn't charge anything for it.
Yeah. And gamers are traditionally socialist anarchists, and they don't like to pay for everything in the world should be free, and we should all just sit in front of the computer and play games.
I don't know if I agree with that, but yeah, okay, I get what you're saying.
Right. So that is understandable. Whereas meme land, okay, because I would love to bring some leaks to the AM show of some meme land information that's come through the channels about how that mint could work out. They're targeting the Gen Z TikTok generation. That these creators love big mansions. They love to flex. They like investments. They bought Doge. They made cute little videos about it. They want their coin meme to support that creator economy. That is wildly bullish to me. I put meme land.
I thought that's what we wanted Vibe Token to be.
Yeah, right. I want meme land to be at the top. But let's talk about how they're thinking about their mint. Obviously, this is subject to change, but this does come from the CEO. It is some inside info from their MVP club. They would like to set an attractive mint price where people feel confidently like they'll be in profit. That's still expensive in this market, but expensive is all relative. The latest word on that is they're going to price it at the average price of potatoes. Okay, so not the floor price. Whatever the average price of all the listings is, that's what they're going to mint it at. I don't know if that's true, but that is one of the rumors. Now, they are going to allow 48 to 72 hours of window to reserve for the meme list, then potatoes, then the wait list, okay? Meme list, which is their whitelist, has priority. So there's going to be that 72-hour window. It doesn't matter when you reserve if you have meme list. If you only have potatoes or wait lists, it's going to be on a first come, first served basis. So once they've allocated to everybody on the meme list who reserved, they will then allocate to all potatoes who reserve, and after that to the wait list. They will collect 100% of the funds upon the reservation. Okay. Any captains that are not minted will go right into their treasury for promotional use. There will be no public sale. The amount of meme drop is a token of thanks for people who reserved but didn't get it. So if anybody reserves and doesn't get it, they will be airdropped an allocation of meme, which again is their native token. This is a model that makes a lot of sense to me. Of the three hyped projects, it's the one I'm most bullish on. And I think that the captains, their MVP club, which sits at a 26th floor right now, could get up to 100 ETH once they start promoting. This company hasn't even begun their traditional Web 2 marketing push. Once they get all these Gen Z TikTokers to talk about, I think that
this is 9gag, right?
Yes, 9gag.
Yeah.
So I think these guys have a lot coming. If everything is marketing and marketing is everything, I would put my money behind 9gag, maybe only with the exception of Yuga Labs after that. Seriously. I think it has that type of potential. I could see these pulling a Moonbird given what's going on. Now, obviously, the MVP, I confuse all their collections. Obviously, the MVP trophies would have to move much, much higher in the interim for that to be the case. But like I said, I don't even think they've started their marketing push yet. So let's see where that one goes. But it is the one that I am most excited about right now. And the mint is looking like it's going to be between 1 and 2 ETH based on the current.
So your level of bullishness between those three projects that we mentioned would be Memeland, Ether, Valhalla in that order?
In that order, yep. And that's only because I don't understand Valhalla. Maybe it would pull ahead. I think they all have the potential to moon, as again, these are the three most hyped projects coming up. So I'm not bearish on any of them. Just ranking, I put Memeland at the top. I think they can go to 20 or 40 ETH. I think Ether can pull an Azuki and go to 10. And I just don't know enough about Valhalla. So we'll see.
Yeah, and here's where, like, you kind of got to be careful with your own perception or bullishness of something really kind of running away with itself, because, like, I am very bullish on Valhalla simply because I have been a lifelong gamer. I have watched a lot of Twitch in my life. I do kind of understand the demands and desires of that community, and I actually have always understood why they've pushed back against NFTs, even though I kind of act the fool and say, like, I don't get why it's not clicking for them. Like, I do, though, right? Like, it's been shoved down their throat. It's been impressed upon them that they need it. And anytime you tell somebody that they need something, they're just going to say, like, why? What's wrong with my life now? But I think I'm taking a lot of the information that they've implied and I'm building my own company with this, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, you could do this, you could do that. I have no clue if what I'm seeing is their vision or their intent. I just know that if they get to some kind of relatively close overlap Venn diagram of what I think they can do, it could be pretty important. But it's also a huge uphill battle. You do actually have to chip away at the market share of Twitch, and Twitch is a hard thing to pull away from. I've listened to a lot of conversations about how diligent they are in protecting their moat, and it's actually pretty incredible. These streamers, a lot of times, the big ones are under contract to stream exclusively on Twitch, and they get a more favorable cut if they sign that exclusivity contract. But they are very, very careful about lining up the contracts of these streamers to not have a bunch of them expiring at the same time and open themselves up for a large group of streamers to exit the platform simultaneously. And so it's very tricky in that regard to capture the market share, because let's face it, it's the same reason why OpenSea has always been so successful. It's because that's where all the action is, right? As much as we loathe it sometimes and as much as we make fun of it, it's just too easy to go into OpenSea and have everything you need already there with the volume. And Twitch is the same way. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. And you're right. Like, if you want to talk about a long-term play, like, it could be 5 years before something like Valhalla really starts to take hold. But if we know the trajectory of gaming and watching gaming and gaming as content and content creation, where that's gone in 5 years, it's going to be a lot bigger than it is now, which is shocking to say. But yeah, that does make me excited for that. Do I want to buy and hold that NFT for 5 years? That's a harder one to answer simply because it's a new project. There's a lot of projects that have survived the last year, year and a half that I will now feel like is a much better bet on because we've seen the team in action and some of the deliverables or just the community. Valhalla, different story. But yeah, I mean, I do think that this conversation in 5 years could look like a no-brainer.
My main
Or awful. I mean, it literally could go to zero. This is a very difficult market they're trying to enter.
my main gripe here is the perception of hype, because I see a lot of people talking about how this is one of the most hyped projects. As far as I can tell, it's coming from two places. One is their application process. That's obvious because it's gone viral. Everyone wants to get an app, blah, 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 blah. The other thing is they've raised VC money, and we are in the VC raising money meta, right? So it seems to be where they're getting their hype from. My fear is it's too complicated a story for the NFT market to understand. The NFT market pumps happen on very simple, popular concepts. This is a very complicated. This requires investor research. NFT people don't do. If the picture looks good and Moby is lit up, that's what they buy. So that's my only gripe is this hype justified or is it manufactured by two things that won't translate to any type of short-term price?
I think on the curve, it's more towards the latter. Like I have to, right? Like I have to believe that. And you know, if you want to create some kind of parallels between that and Digidaigaku, obviously it's happening in a completely different way, but it was like, okay, this guy Gabriel Layden came out and said, hey, look, we're building this, we're building the Web3 version of this. It's going to be free to own. We're changing the narrative, we're changing the meta. Oh, by the way, I've built two of the biggest mobile games ever. It's a lot easier to say, why can't he do it a third time? He obviously knows.
Can we talk about that disappointment for a second? The biggest announcement in the history of it. Look, I am bullish to you guys. I am bullish. I love him. This is not a bearish on the call. I am just this guy building up hype like he was going to change the NFT market yesterday and then announces a TV commercial. What the come on.
I don't know, man, because like let's zoom back or rewind to February of this year when we were doing this show every single day, and all we talked about for 2 fucking weeks straight was how the Super Bowl was going to be our big moment, our coming out party.
Integration is not a paid for commercial.
What's that?
We were expecting NFT integration into the Super Bowl through the halftime show and commercials. We weren't expecting a paid for, and we did. We had NFTs in a commercial during the Super Bowl last year. Wasn't it Coinbase who did the commercial?
Coinbase did the QR code where you could win $1 million.
Nouns glasses and Budweiser.
Yeah, but nobody knew what the fucking Nouns glasses were. We knew. Nobody watching that went, oh, Nouns. Like,
I think it's a very good bullish thing for Digidaigaku. It's not the biggest announcement in NFTs. I was expecting something, I don't know.
But what if they go that like QR code route, or something to that effect, and they're launching their mobile game, they come out with some big flashy thing, and now all of a sudden, so Coinbase had 20 million interactions with that Super Bowl commercial, right? Now giving away $1 million is, you know, a pretty good way to get a couple of clicks. But, you know, what if the commercial surrounding Digidaigaku doesn't even really talk about NFTs? It's this big new game you got to get, and they onboard, you know, 5 million new players overnight. Oh, by the way, there's crypto and NFTs involved in this. I don't know, man. I think I can get there.
Yes. I don't know. I was just, okay, so I guess the vibe I got was we were going to learn about the next thing you were going to do with your Digidaigaku. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I wasn't listening close enough, but that was the vibe that I got from the announcement, is that we were going to find something out about the product, not that he was going to market it at this, which is great. Again, this is all great.
I'm pretty sure he said he was going to spend 100% of his budget on marketing. So, I mean, he's doing it. He's putting his money where his mouth is.
All right.
Buying Super Bowl spots. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, we got to build an app too. Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Pretty fascinating. I have BV and this other one that you pulled up here. Do you want to touch on them? Do you want to give me the 30-second elevator pitch on what's going on with these? Then we got to wrap it up.
BV is a anime show that was picked up by Netflix, and then this project, a free to mint BV project, popped up. I was instantly suspicious because I could not find any direct connection between them and the show. Lo and behold, our own Lucas in the DGen Dojo did a little digging, which showed that the artist behind this is associated with the show. Obviously, the show has not sent out any cease and desist. The wording on the website is very, very strange, but I think we can chalk that up to a language barrier or a culture barrier. It minted for free yesterday. It lit up Mobi. It got up to 0.12 at its peak. It's sitting at 0.07 right now. Absolutely fabulous art. Seems to be, seems to at least not be DCMA'd by the actual project, unrevealed. And they had some hype yesterday. So this was just one that we were watching in the DGen Dojo. We got together and decided if it fell to 0.06, we would buy a couple. And I did. I bought a couple to see where this could go. It's a 10,000 PFP project. I think that's the biggest knock behind it. I also leave out a 1% chance that this wasn't off. I don't know anything about it. It's just, this may not have been authorized by the actual TV show. We are in a Japan anime meta. So
still,
it could work. Let us see. The art, love it. The color palette is amazing. The art itself is amazing. And they are fostering a good community. It's fun. They base things off a pool party or something like that. There seems to be a little something here. So.
Yeah, if I could find one more knock against them, it is the 7.5% royalty on there. But I mean, we don't have to get into that. I think that's high. But
it's high. It is a free mint, so that is the only way the creators can.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
So
sort of. You can sort of talk.
You got to pay one way or the other.
It's true. 42% unique owners, though, heading towards that very nice 51%, which can typically lift things off a little bit faster.
Yeah, we obviously have to get through. I believe it was botted pretty hard on the public, which only had 2,000 yesterday. At the end of the whitelist, which was 8,000 people, it was at 0.12. So the whitelist wasn't dumping too much, but we do have to work off the 2,000 from the public sale, which I'm guessing 90% of which have been dumped on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the IDs there, yeah, you get 9,000, 9,000, 9,000, 9,000. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely some of the higher ones there.
And look, even with gas high, even with high gas yesterday, if you minted it for free, it's a double. So people are gonna take that double right now. Why not?
High gas. What was it? 30.
It was actually 70, 80 because the market was going crazy at that point too. Now it minted for a while, so I think gas was up and down throughout, but people were regularly paying 30 or 40 gas, which on a free NFT, you just have to factor in, that's half the price it's at right now, which is, hey, that's a great double still, right? I mean, that's a good play for anyone who botted it. So I can't blame the botters for taking the easy double.
Double's a double. All right, man. Well, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this show up?
I just want to acknowledge the AM show jinx is alive and well. Markets have reversed red, and pretty hard too. Not just the good old we got to take a little breather after yesterday. markets have reversed red. So,
yeah, they sure
AM
have.
curse continues. I want to apologize to everybody out there.
Yeah, we just go ahead and talk about it. Look how bullish this
fire
is, and
I'll happily
yeah.
say that now.
Oh well, we're maybe bound. I don't know. I'm 5 minutes behind.
That ain't purdy. That ain't purdy. That's a once it went under that little shelf there, it was bad. We'll see. It's up off the lows a tad. 36 for all those S&P watchers. We want to close above 3640 today or Monday, or yesterday's big bounce is negated somewhat. So for you technical analysts out there, watch that 3640 on the S&Ps, which we are below currently.
Well, I had that Anthony Hopkins NFT tab pulled up, and I was like, I went to go refresh it, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is still a thing. It was.
Mm-hmm.
It was. Mm-hmm. That's where we are. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 153 of the AM show. Free Market, it was great to be back up here live with you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're going to be going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out on YouTube or Discord. We drop some announcements, stuff like that. And yeah, it should be fun. I think that's going to be a good cadence going forward, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We will see you on Monday. Free Market, get us out of here.
Good luck at the table, Stephen.